Today, for my year-end recap, I invite my colleagues, Michael Zakkour and Brandon Rael. Hi, guys. So it's great to be here with fellow TREs. And Michael, I'm going to lead with your favorite topic first. It's like when you see Michael, you think video commerce. So let's get right into it. You're the champion of it. You've been the champion of it. Some stuff has happened. And so I want to just start with let's see, how do I want to say this? We don't want to rehash why it's important. We're not doing that. What we can talk about is what exciting happened this year and what does that mean for next year?
Yeah, I think this is the year it's really started to go mainstream. Those questions about, is it important? Is it expensive? Is it too hard? Is it a nice to have or is it a must have? That's all gone now. Remember when we did our last couple and we talked about, is it a fad or a trend or a strategy? And I maintained it was a strategy, and you and Brandon both agreed. And now it's clearly a strategy. Something very interesting, there was a little KPI that came out of that, which said 20% of all e-commerce sales during that period were driven by video influencers and affiliates. So if you take that pie and you're questioning, does video have a role to play in e-commerce, 20% of that 130 billion was influenced by video. And so, yeah, just closing with the idea around video commerce, it's a must-have strategy now. And just go back and say, it's not just about live streaming, but it's about having a holistic v-commerce strategy that includes all types of video, whether it's UGC, whether it's live streaming, shoppable video, short video, TikTok video. Oh, and by the way, a quick by the way, on Black Friday, TikTok Shop did $100 million in sales on video commerce. As it relates to a massive Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we had as good a 4 days as I can remember. I think this is going to be a really healthy holiday season. We're already seeing sales up 3.4% across the board, online, offline, year on year. And I think it's going to bode well for the entire season and carry the momentum into the new year.
Brandon, thoughts?
I'm mirror Michael's really sentiments here. I think the shift to video and consumable content is a reflection of our society and where the consumers are. And retailers and brands have now migrated to the world where the consumers now are consuming content and video content in particular in a way that's unprecedented, and it's reflected in the numbers. Black Friday, we go to a world. Black Friday was a phenomenon. Actually, I had to wake up at 4 a.m., fight the crowds, and there's a chance you get beat up. Get that big large screen TV. So we're now seeing a world where there's extended promotional periods going 2 months plus, but there's also so much more focus and investment made with the video commerce or live streaming or even just consumable bites of commerce that are video centric in a way that's driving engagement, it's driving interest, that's personalized. TikTok is leading the way, and every other social media platform, including LinkedIn, is really trying to perfect that model. And if you see LinkedIn, it's more and more video content and more the algorithms are feeding it now in a way that's a reflection of our society. So I think you'll see a lot more influencers or micro-influencers driving brand engagement. You're seeing a lot more conversion rates increasing, average order values going up. You're looking at e-commerce becoming just an increasingly bigger part of the pie now. It's up to 14, 15%. We can expect it to rise even more during the holiday season. And you're going to see a lot of gross margin growth. But all that has to be backed by infrastructure and cloud and supply chain optimization, and to really inspire. It comes on to inspire consumers to shop. It comes on to execution. So all that video content is great, but it has to be backed by really powerful back engines, and it still need to be merchandising, still need to be product centric. You still need the art of retail is really art, the blending of the arts and sciences. You can have the best videos, the best influencers, but it's not backed by the systems and merchandising strategies and product development. It'll fall flat.
I'm remembering your comments back in February when we did this at the beginning of the year, and you pointed out that you have to be really careful with your inventory. You have to have it in order to go this big. And that's I think, Michael, for the must-have to work is, okay, plan forward for your year in your production and plan in big events around video, and then make sure you have the inventory. Did you guys catch this outlandish Santa Monica Mall shop video? You can say video stalls.
Mm.
I saw a note
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
So then I researched it. So essentially, it's on Santa Monica Promenade, and it looks like, I don't know that it is, but from the outside, it looks like the old Urban Outfitters that was there, which was a huge space. You go inside, and it's like in Asia. Outlandish is an Asia-based, Chinese-based company,
Mm.
and it's stalls, and they set it up for Black Friday. They had a huge success where they were live streaming in person. You could also shop in person. It was a 2-person stall, which you need anyway, right? You're doing the hosting, and then you've got the other person manning the logistics. You don't need a huge team, but you need at least 2. That I think is very interesting use of, let's say, dark space, or a way to do retail in retail, but not the way we used to.
Based on your description, this is classic Alibaba Singles Day 11/11. On Singles Day, they bring in an average of 8,000 live streamers and put them in a building for 24 hours in those type of booths. And of course, that's a big one-day event. But what you are starting to see is people using that type of space for ongoing 24/7 streaming. And so you have people who are using the booths for TikTok shop. They're using it for the brand.com website. And so that's definitely part of the strategy now. An interesting point, just coming back to the inventory thing. I don't want to get ahead too much looking into the next year, but one thing that, I think all retailers, brands, platforms, anybody in our business needs to be on the lookout for is, coming back to Brandon's point, your point, supply chain is critical right now. And we are seeing perhaps what is going to be in this coming year, the largest disruption in supply chain in the last 40 years. No matter what happens, I can assure you that the combination of tariffs, the combination of global tensions, jockeying for position, and companies who are already thinking about, right, when we use the term reglobalization, we think about globalization in that 30 years that was summarized by Tom Friedman's book, The World is Flat, right? I think we're now in the era where the world is wired and the world is interconnected, and that can be a bit messy. And, what I think anybody in the retail world has to be thinking about going into the new year is you need the 2 great enablers, as you said, Christine, working for you. On one side, you really have to have a handle on your supply chain, logistics, and fulfillment, which includes inventory visibility. And on the other side, you really need to have your IT, technology, data, and AI in place to make all of that work. And so it's going to be a very interesting year as companies look for new places to make products, new lanes to ship them through, new buildings to store them in and distribute from. So again, looking ahead to 2025, supply chain and inventory is going to be a huge part of the story.
Going back to COVID and having to respond to supply chain issues, and then global tensions and Houthis, and now this unsustainable. You have to plan your supply chain like fugitives. What if something really bad geopolitically happens here? I have to be able to have a go bag and go, and have my production spread across 10 countries. How is that possible? How is that feasible?
I think it's already happening organically. I think because of the ramifications of intense tariffs. The Chinese-based companies in manufacturing have found creative ways to near source and drive procurement and manufacturing in Mexico and Central America, and providing the product by using the labor forces, the resources, and and the land in Mexico to really mitigate those challenges. To answer your question, it's finding creative ways. It's if COVID taught us anything, is it had to be more resilient, had to build up contingency plans, had to be more creative, because disruption is real. And I think in our lifetimes, I think we won't get through the next 5 or 10 years without intense disruptions or chaos. It's almost part of the norm now. But if you're a millennial or Gen Z, all you know throughout your life in the post 9/11 world is there is disruptions and there's unprecedented events. So it's almost, it's hard to see it. I think we grew up in a world that's a bit more stable. I think if you're a retailer or a brand, resiliency, contingency planning, investing in technology and AI capabilities and be more prescriptive and optimizing your inventory and building our partnerships to near source, or even God forbid we actually manufacture in the U.S. might be a possibility. But of course, with that comes luxury prices and operational costs will increase. But there are advantages and disadvantages. But with the advancements in technology and marketplaces, there are new creative ways to sell your product and to provide scale. And clearly, it's going to lead to the ecosystem, the giants known as Walmart and Amazon, where you inevitably have to go to get your products out there if people aren't going to your store or if you're online only operation. But yes, definitely a lot more impressive events to come.
Michael?
Yeah, Brandon stole about 90% of what I was going to say. So I'm glad you went to him first. On our shop, as far as supply chain goes, we call it optionality. That at every level of the 6 mega processes of the supply chain, make, plan, make, buy, ship, store, sell. You need to have plans A, B, C, and D in place. You need that resiliency. And this is where this unified commerce idea comes in, that if you are getting that proper interplay between your retail tech stack, your IT, your technology, and your AI, driving and connecting and learning from and being informed by what you need on the supply chain, you're going to have that optionality and resiliency that will help you avoid. So what's the bottom line? From where I sit, there's no such thing anymore as supply chain disruption. We are in a permanent state of disruption, and the lulls are what the disruptions used to be, right? The lulls are its reverse roles. I like I said, I don't have the answers other than I know in the next year, every company in the world, retailer, brand, CPG, is going to have to rethink and adjust to a very different world of supply chain logistics and fulfillment. And that has so many different effects on retail. Are we going to have products to market? Are tariffs going to increase prices? Is it a tax on the consumer? We don't know. The only thing I can say is something is going to happen that we all need to be able to be ready for. The three of us for years, and you've heard me talking about ecosystems, right? The new retail model of integrating online, offline technology, supply chain, and entertainment to build a massive ecosystem, right? And it sounds like everything we're talking about is going to be, if not to the benefit, but certainly making the big guys more able to survive some of these disruptions and some of the others. But that being said, there is a way to even the playing field if you are a smaller player. And I will stick to my guns and die on this hill and saying, if you follow that understanding of what the new retail model is and where you can leverage yourself in it, number one. Number two, if you truly engage in modernizing to unified commerce. And number three, if you are nimble in creating an immersive experiential commerce system for yourself online and offline, you can make up ground. Because it comes down to it, like, guys, the numbers are in now, right? I have all the KPIs that show immersive commerce across channels, right? This is physical and digital, increases traffic, increases conversions, increases AOV, increases LTV, lowers returns, and lowers your overall cost of consumer acquisition and lowers the cost of your fulfillment. Maybe 4 years ago when we were talking about this, it was more theoretical. This is fact now. And so this is a time when retailers have to really embrace the new. And we as professionals, as advisors, as practitioners, it's incumbent upon us to really make sure that audience understands that the answer is there. The tools are there. You just need to embrace them, right? So forget digital transformation, focus on digital enablement. How do you take the tech you have and some of the tech you need to do those things I said, because the mission is still the same. You're a retailer and people are judging you on price, selection, experience, and then how are you going to present that in this new world? Through immersive commerce.
Okay, I want to name 4 retailers. They're all big. They're At first glance, you're like, wait, why? But you guys will know why. There are clear leaders, and then there's not so much. But then if you break it down in different areas, there are leaders and not so much. You could be an overall leader. Okay. So I want to lay these over each other. And I want to talk about what you just talked about, but also layer in what are they doing that's winning? What do they need to be doing? How does AI factor in? How did we get here? Okay. So here are the 4 retailers.
Sure.
Walmart, McDonald's, Macy's, and Amazon.
There's a broad selection of companies. I think all varied levels of their evolution. I think it's Walmart's clear, dominating the industry. Their ecosystem that Michael alluded to is broad. They're investing in capabilities that are driving value for the consumers. If you look at Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart, his quarterly review, we're here to save customers time and money. And it's about convenience, about efficiency, about value. They're winning, and they're driving lots of value for everyone, and they're empowering their store associates to meet the needs of the consumers. Now, McDonald's is undergoing a transformation as well. It's consumers are dealt with inflation, balancing their budgets, and the cost of a Big Mac is the same as a sweet green salad. So I think you got to make a trade-off here. So it's the prices have definitely gone up. I think there's a lot of negativity around that. So I think they're now trying to extend some goodwill. And we'll see where things go with McDonald's. It's certainly a force to be reckoned with, just the sheer amount of stores they have. I don't personally go to McDonald's, so it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Macy's is an interesting one because they still have lots of brand equity. We still associate Macy's with the holiday. They just had the big Thanksgiving Day parade. There's untapped amount of revenue associated with that. They're definitely a brand that's synonymous with big events. But if you look at the day-to-day shopping and the missions that customers are on these days, and just the younger generations, they don't see Macy's as the go-to retailer as it used to be. I think as the leadership team by Tony Spring and the company, they recognize that. They're taking the steps to try to transform the company, and then look at the top 50 stores and doing experimentations and trying to innovate the store experience. But there was a really dilution of the in-store experience. They were late to the game with the e-commerce strategies, where Macy's is really falling off significantly. They were once the most dominant department store. And I remember going to Macy's for everything at one point, and where now you have Target, Walmart, Amazon. Macy's isn't that go to the destination it used to be. But we'll see where it goes. There's lots of activists, investors, and the shareholders want return on their investments. And they're also at the point where their real estate is valued more than the company is these days. It'd be very interesting to see where things go. You never can grow a company by consolidation and closing store closures. It really hits your brand equity hard. The last company was, Ken? Amazon. They just keep winning. From a personal experience, that's the art of discovery. We always start with Amazon. Our kids' generation starts with Amazon. They're just the convenience that comes with it, the ecosystem they have. If you're a brand or retailer, you need to have a marketplace within Amazon. Certainly, they're going head to head with Walmart. Walmart has the advantages of their stores and their store footprints in general, and then convenience where you can pick up the product. But Amazon continues to thrive, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. And we forget the fact that they're not a retailer; they're a supply chain fulfillment and technology company that has a marketplace. I think Michael knows as well. And they also have AWS, which is their cloud services organization. I think it's like 45% of their revenues, if not more. So they've really diversified a lot, and they'll just continue growing and dominating. I think they're also like the force field around keeping us protected from Shein and Temu to a certain respect, or Alibaba. So I think it'll be interesting to see where things go.
I'll start with Macy's. I'll give a plug for somebody else because it's really important. Freakonomics Radio did a podcast on Macy's last week or the week before. I don't know if you guys caught it, but it's well worth a listen. I'd recommend anybody interested in that subject to look it up. Freakonomics Radio, Macy's. My jury is very much still out on them. I hate to say it, but it's starting to feel like a little too late. I still think there's a chance for a bounce back. I think it takes a fundamental rethinking of the place they hold in the retail ecosystem. Listen, we've seen comebacks. If we look what happened with Abercrombie and Fitch and what's happening with Gap and some other names, they've proven that you can have a second act in America. I wonder if the organization, though, is just too big and too set in its ways. But I'm willing to give Tony Spring the benefit of the doubt and see if he can implement some stuff. But damn, he's got to move fast. This can't be a 5-year rebuild. We're talking about over the next 12 months, there has to be some significant change. And look, some of it is just the department store is not the model that people are gravitating to anymore, with some very few exceptions like Nordstrom. And they risk, really, I hate to say it, they could go either way. They could become Sears and JCPenney, or they could become the comeback kid. Jury's out.
Michael, I will
Yeah,
add,
sure.
people know me for being in consulting and technology, but I started my career as a buyer at Macy's. So I have a really nostalgic connection to Macy's. I actually went through their merchandising 101 training class back in pre-ecom days. So date myself a little bit, but I don't care. I actually learned merchandising and buying and planning from Macy's. So I'm rooting for them. And I want Tony's.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm rooting for them too. And funny, my first job in retail was in Macy's in the Livingston Mall in Livingston, New Jersey. Yep. And I worked in the shoe department, and I was a teenager, and I was there, a frontline worker. Lots of fun stories, but I have nostalgia too there, not in the professional sense that you did, but my first retail jobs. I'm not being anti-Macy's here. I'm just trying to be realistic about the job ahead of them. And I think they're useful in this conversation to say, okay, what is Walmart and Amazon doing? Why are they so dominant? And at the risk of being repetitive here, is because both of those companies are building a massive commercial ecosystem that includes technology services, that includes virtual shopping spaces, physical shopping spaces, .com shopping spaces, marketplace. And we're looking at what Walmart has done with Realm and what they're doing with their Roblox. They're going after younger consumers. And is it going to be an overnight success? Will Realm and Roblox and some of these new ventures account for 10% of their 15% of their sales in 2 years? No, but they're doing it. They're taking the risk, and they have fortified, right? And look at Target. Target's fallen off. And I get a lot of people asking me, what happened to Target? A lot of things happened to Target. Some of it was inflation and the difference between discretionary items and everyday items. But what I think really happened is they took their foot off the pedal about 3 years ago in terms of their investment in the integration of online, offline. They were, if you go back to 2019, they were ahead of Walmart in that game by some distance. And basically, since 2019, Walmart's lapped them a couple of times in terms of that development. That fits right in with the story of Amazon. They've developed that ecosystem. They've developed the dominance in e-commerce in a way that Walmart has developed the dominance in physical retail. But at the end of the day, they are the ecosystem builders. And every brand and every other retailer needs to understand how they built those ecosystems, what they can learn from it, and how to play successfully inside of them. Oh, I left out McDonald's. I'm sorry. McDonald's, wow, getting into that food and beverage space and, that on-site. I think McDonald's is going to come out of this fine. The problem we had going into the last couple of quarters and heading into this next quarter is the perception that the economy was not doing well and that inflation had not receded came because the one thing that people touch and feel and smell every day is food. So whether they're in a McDonald's or in a grocery store. So while gas prices are coming down, car prices are coming down, TV prices are coming down, clothing prices are coming down, what didn't come down is the grocery and the restaurants. And that's something people felt and smelled and touched every day. And so a lot of it is perception. A lot of it is reality in people's pocketbook. But confident that McDonald's has been able to reinvent themselves enough times to reconnect with their consumers.
Are you curious why I selected these four? It seems pretty obvious on the surface, but I did want to bring four companies that overlapped, not necessarily across each other, but in ways that are very topical. And Brandon caught on to it, but I want to spend a little bit of time talking about it. McDonald's makes most of their money from their real estate. Cares about hamburgers. 15% of their revenue is from burgers. They are a franchise model, so that's where you don't have similarities, but they're celebrated, they're rewarded, their stock is rewarded because of their business model. And so today, as Brandon noted, and this will air later on, there is there are activists saying, we want you to unlock the value in your real estate.
Mm.
And by the way, they also said they want two things: unlock the value of your real estate and stop with capital expenditures, which to me, the first one is, okay, maybe, I don't know, why not? Second is a death knell, because then you are Sears, and
Mhm.
that's a disaster.
Mhm.
But you're only in the position that you can't spend money because you're not making money. Macy's does not have gross margin.
Mhm.
And so that's the McDonald's overlap. And then what it lacks is the gross margin to fund innovation, which makes it way below Walmart and Amazon. And that, Michael, is, to your point, Target closing store of the future as like a waste of time and money.
Yes.
Innovation, store 8, whatever, all of it just blowing up and going away, while Amazon and Walmart are doing moonshots, and some of them worked.
Mhm.
Yes. And they're gonna
And
yeah. Go ahead.
the other thing is, I was going to put Albertsons on there because it's like pants, Macy's, burgers, McDonald's, but groceries going to get you in the door. And Walmart was like,
Mm.
great, while you're here, look at all, you can buy a lawnmower. And Target just came at it too late. If you're Macy's, what do? Do you put grocery in there? It's so, the horse has left the stable. These things are like, these huge moves were made, and there are huge leads. My thoughts on Amazon is they win in marketplace. Now everyone's copying them.
Yes.
It's like Walmart, fine. But I think their big news now is AI and Nova and what they announced last week, and fine. And one last thing. These are like all the weird Venn diagram overlays. The reason why I selected them, and you picked up on all of them, is America is officially what's in my wallet first country. When you are a retailer out there, whether you're Walmart or Amazon, or doing it correctly when McDonald's was the right price point, or Costco, you're being rewarded. Now, Dollar General, and they're struggling, they're an exception. But if you as the customer believe that the place where you're going to give your money respects your money,
Mhm.
they're going to be loyal.
You just took one of the words out of my mouth.
Loyalty is not about points. It's not about accumulating stars at a certain coffee joint from Seattle. I think that's to lead with loyalty and accumulating points is a doomed proposition. Loyalty is about the experience, it's about the efficiency, about the quality, about the overall experience online store, about the engagement. And I think that's where, unfortunately, Target is falling off. The last few visits to Target, the experience has really gone downhill. And then the other retailers have taken their place. So you continue to see Amazon and Walmart go head to head with each other because they are battling for the consumer's wallet and loyalty. And it's all about execution. It's all about excellence. It's all about efficiencies. If you say the product can be delivered to your home within this time frame, you better live to that commitment. And then Amazon continues to do that relentlessly. And so does Walmart, for that matter. Their algorithms are so powerful. They're investing in AI, Gen AI, and supply chain optimization, and all these efficiencies to reduce cost to serve and unlock growth and increase the gross margin potential. That's winning. And I think you mentioned Abercrombie and Fitch. I'm rooting for everyone. Could come back. I'm glad they came back. They reinvented themselves. What they were in the late 90s, early 2000s, they became something new to the next generation. So a comeback is possible. But once you're in this downward spiral of mass store closures and the cost containment and mass layoffs and restructuring, and the brand equity takes such a powerful hit, and you're always synonymous with closing stores and being a brand that your grandparents used to shop in with parents, then it's going to be very hard to come back from that. As much as I'm rooting for a certain department store to come back, it really is going to take a lot of commitment and time and investment, capital investment.
There's an over-reliance and a focus on points of sale. And POS has been so important to the retail experience, online, offline. I propose that companies start building points of experience. And that's not just experiential, but a point of experience. Why is that important? It's relatively easy to turn a point of experience into a point of sale. It's relatively difficult to turn a point of sale into a point of experience. So if you just step back and you look at your entire enterprise and you say, from moment A to moment Z, what are these points of experience that we can create? And within those, what's the point of sale look like where it's natural? And that dovetails in, and that's what I popped up when the first word that came out of your mouth was loyalty. I thought about the way I've been operating for the last 5 years is, we said this earlier, whatever it is you want in life, give it away first and it'll come back to you. And this hyper focus on making the consumer loyal to you is sometimes misplaced and often ineffective. And I would say to any brand or retailer listening to this today, develop your loyalty strategy around how do I be loyal to the consumer first, and then see how it comes back to us. And that takes a little bit of a different mindset. But I think if you can stitch together a more immersive digital experience, a more immersive physical experience, a loyalty to the consumer first way of thinking, results in a relatively short period of time. And so even when I'm looking at somebody like Macy's, my message to them and for much smaller retailers is all of the tools and technologies and playbooks for you to get quick needle movement on relevance and experiences are there. And it has to be this mixture of the do now, do soon, while you're plotting the bigger do later. That might sound overly simplistic. I don't know, but I just know it works because I've done it with dozens of retailers and brands, right? This is a proven concept.
It's a balancing act, Michael. I couldn't agree more. Whereas in the past 10 or 15 years ago, it was these big bang transformation programs I led with retailers, some of the well-known brands, where they didn't realize any value for 2 to 3 or 4 years. It was always that long-term vision. You could do that, but along the way, you need to incrementally provide value and great experiences and new capabilities for your frontline workers incrementally over a few months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So the acceleration has to happen. The immediacy has to happen. You can plan long-term all you want, but you quickly become irrelevant if you're not actually changing the experiences or your operating model in a way that's going to be relevant to consumers and actually make them loyal to your brand because you're just executing so well and you're providing great experiences for your consumers and value and pricing and quality. So you can't have that long-term outlook without thinking about the immediate.
I want to chime in here because really the short, medium, and long-term goals are it's very obvious. That's a leadership question. And I would say that retail, the industry, has evolved from a leadership standpoint, and because the industry has evolved from a merchant prince being the most important person at the top of the organization. Brandon, you came out of that mindset. I worked in that mindset. So I was at J. Crew and we had no names but merchant prince. And so you have that. And I want to just digress for 1 second. You used to always be able to tell if a specialty retailer and even a department store was being run by a merchant or was being run by the CFO.
You're right. It all comes down to product. The comeback of Abercrombie and Fitch was built around excellent assortments. Products are outstanding. What the teenagers want, young adults want today, and they really transformed that brand. And the pricing is at a level, it's near affordable luxury. So they're not like they're going for the lower income demographics. So they certainly not pricier. But if you have the right quality, the right branding, the right experience, customers will come back. And that's really a merchant-led initiative. You're right. But they're backed by science too.
They actually nailed supply chain. They have a lot of grayish product. They copied Zara. I don't even know if Zara copies Zara anymore. They do grayish product. They're in short lead times for production. They're bringing in things as they see popularity and they're selling at full price. And then at the end of the season, there's nothing in the store. It's like a dream come true. Michael, weigh in here. And then we're going to go to, because we're chatting away here, weigh in here. And then I'm going to pose an AI question and then we'll wrap.
We're talking a lot about the big 3 or 4 who are winning right now, right? But then there's the other 45,000 retailers operating in America. But what I think they have in common, let's forget the dominant 5, right? If you're trying to catch up to them or find your place in the world, not everybody has that capital to invest in that expansive a universe of change and progress. So, yeah, I just want to bring it back down to earth a little bit and say, you can take that merchant prince idea and still apply it. But that merchant prince today has to understand that retail is everywhere now. Retail is in physical, but there are like 10 different physical formats to play in, not 3. Retail is in digital. It's not just marketplaces and .coms. There are like 10 different channels and types of commerce. So the merchant prince can bring that vision to say, I need to bring this brand and our merchandising value and our merchandising vision across all of these ecosystems, platforms, and habitats. So I don't think it's so much that you can't have that visionary merchant prince anymore. It's that person has to understand the 3 major platforms for retail being everywhere, which is ecosystems, marketplaces, online, offline habitats, and oh my God, here come platforms like Roblox and Twitch and Netflix, right? I just wanted to say there's that room for that person there, as long as they have that broad understanding of what's ahead of them.
The way you describe it is habitat of marketplaces, the online offline section, and you walk through and you're seeing like different iterations of that.
That's what
And
the
then
ecosystem is.
ecosystem. I love
Yeah,
the way you laid that out.
it's having that circle of experiences, right? And you have that choice, because really merchandising isn't an experience, right?
Really,
The
yeah.
first time you walked into the Ralph Lauren store in Manhattan, and I was an ethnic kid from New Jersey, and I walked in and I instantly felt like I belonged on a yacht in Connecticut wearing penny loafers. I could dream it was me. That was an experience. You have all these online, offline habitats where you can do that. You can do that. It's not impossible.
Available. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up with your thoughts. Give us quick takes on Gen AI, and what you've either seen or what you're going to see going forward. Dealer's choice. Brandon, you start.
Sure. I think a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around AI, Gen AI, a lot of fear as well. But I think what I saw in NRF this past January was it's finally getting embedded as a solution. It's finally getting leveraged to drive insight, to drive personalization, to drive loyalty, to drive better merchandising decisions. So I know it's driving the shareholder prices, and it's driving shareholder value for some major technology companies, and it's a big hype and fear and apprehension around it. But for a retailer, it's powerful. For consumers, it's also going to drive better experiences. Is it going to change the world? It might change it a little bit. Things fundamentally remain the same. The right product, the right place, the right time, fundamentally still there. AI is an enabler. So I'm interested to see what this NRF has to bring in terms of solutions.
I'll hit it by saying this. I have literally spent the last 2 years digging as deep as a human being could dig into the world of traditional AI, predictive analytics, generative AI, and where it meets, and in retail in particular. And I will tell you this, you can take out and scrape off that layer of hype on top of it. It's not something we're waiting for. It's here. It is so fully embedded in everything now, right? It's embedded in supply chain. It's embedded in manufacturing. It's embedded in marketing. This is not wait to see where AI is going to take us. It's done. And if you doubt that, doubt it at your own peril. It's a done deal. It's here.
As always, this is one of my most fun shows with my most respected colleagues. I can't thank you enough. You've been great supporters and great friends, and I value your time and your input tremendously. So I wish you a happy new year. And that is what just happened. I'm Christine Russo. Thank you for a wonderful year.